All right, so today we're going to be taking a deep dive into ECMO,
Oh,
extracorporeal membrane oxygenation.
right.
And we've got these two great articles that you sent over from Jonathan Young,
Yes.
and he's an ECMO specialist, and it's fascinating stuff. And this is basically a machine that can breathe for you.
Mhm. Yeah, it really is a lifesaver for patients who are in severe respiratory distress or have significant heart failure.
Yeah, it's like a heart-lung bypass machine, right?
Yeah, think of it that way, but for a longer term.
Okay.
So instead of just being on it for a few hours during surgery, it can be used for days, weeks, or even months
Wow.
to support patients while their body heals.
So ECMO, it essentially takes over the function of either the lungs or the heart, or in some cases both, right?
That's right. It acts as a bridge. It allows the blood to be oxygenated and carbon dioxide to be removed outside of the body.
So it's like an external organ system.
Exactly. It gives the body a chance to rest and recover.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So who are the patients that typically need ECMO?
So a variety of patients can benefit from ECMO, anyone whose heart or lungs are failing to the point where conventional therapies are no longer effective.
So like in the case of COVID-19, we saw a lot of people with ARS,
Exactly.
acute respiratory distress syndrome.
Right. ARDS is one of the most common reasons why someone might need ECMO. And COVID-19, unfortunately, led to a surge in ARDS cases.
And Young, in his article from October 8th, he was actually working in Kuwait at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yes.
And then came back to the U.S. and said that ECMO was like a totally different landscape when he came back.
It was a complete transformation. Before the pandemic, ECMO was considered a relatively rare treatment.
Right.
But then COVID hit, and suddenly the demand for ECMO skyrocketed. Hospitals that had never even offered ECMO before had to scramble to set up programs and train staff.
So it was like ECMO got thrust into the spotlight.
Absolutely. It became a frontline treatment for critically ill COVID patients.
Wow. And what kind of challenges did that create?
Oh, well, there were immense challenges. Suddenly there was this huge demand for ECMO, but a limited supply of machines, trained personnel, and even resources like specialized ECMO beds.
Right.
It really exposed the limitations of the healthcare system and forced everyone to adapt quickly.
So it's kind of like trial by fire almost.
Yeah, in a way it was, but it also led to some incredible innovation. Under pressure, people find ways to make things work, and we saw tremendous advancements in ECMO technology protocols and training during that time.
So like a necessity is the mother of invention kind of thing.
Precisely. But it also brought up some tough ethical questions about resource allocation. When you have more patients needing ECMO than machines available, who gets priority?
That's a really tough question.
It is, and it's something that healthcare providers had to grapple with on a daily basis during the pandemic.
And Yun, in his article, he mentions this burden-based approach to resource allocation.
Yes, that's a concept that gained traction during the pandemic.
So what does that mean exactly?
Basically, it means considering not just the potential benefit of a treatment, but also the burden it places on the patient and the healthcare system.
So it's not just about whether someone can be saved, but whether they're likely to have a good quality of life afterward.
Exactly. And also considering things like the length of stay in the ICU, the potential for complications, and the overall impact on limited resources.
Wow, that adds a whole other layer of complexity to the decision-making process.
It does, and it highlights the importance of having clear guidelines and ethical frameworks in place, especially during times of crisis.
I want to switch gears a bit and talk about Young's October 10th article,
Okay.
where he talks about this scary scenario called accidental decannulation.
Right.
So for those of us who aren't, ECMO experts,
Sure.
what is decannulation and why is it such a big deal?
So you have a patient connected to the ECMO circuit, right? Blood is flowing in and out through these tubes called cannulas that are inserted into the body.
Right.
Decannulation is when one of those cannulas accidentally comes loose.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
It's a very serious complication because you can have massive bleeding.
Oh, wow.
We're talking about potentially losing 3 to 5 liters of blood per minute.
Oh, my God.
So immediate action is critical.
So what happens if that does happen? What's the protocol?
Well, the guidelines from ELSO, the Extracorporeal Life Support Organization, they really stress prevention first and foremost.
Yeah.
You want to do everything possible to prevent this from happening.
Right. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly. So that means securing those cannulas really well, using special clamp tubing holders, and making sure everyone around the patient is aware of them and the risks involved.
So it's about minimizing that risk as much as possible.
Absolutely. But if it does happen, you have to act fast.
Okay.
Just to clamp the circuit to stop the bleeding, apply pressure to the site where the cannula came out, and get a surgeon there immediately.
Wow, it sounds intense.
It is. It's a true emergency situation.
And Jung mentions that they actually practice for this in simulations.
Yes, simulation training is crucial for ECMO teams.
I can imagine how stressful that must be.
Oh, it is. Knowing that a single mistake could have devastating consequences adds a whole other level of pressure.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about the human element too.
Exactly. ECMO requires a highly skilled and dedicated team working together seamlessly.
We've covered a lot of ground already, how ECMO works, the impact of COVID-19, this whole decannulation thing.
Yeah.
But I think we need to take a minute to just let all of this sink in. This is powerful stuff.
It is. It really highlights the life-saving potential of ECMO, but also the incredible demands it places on healthcare workers and the ethical considerations that come with it.
We'll definitely dive into that human side of things a little bit later on.
Yes, we should.
Well, we've certainly had a lot to ponder today.
We have.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of ECMO. It's amazing when you think about it that we can actually replace the function of the heart and lungs with a machine.
It really is remarkable.
Like that in itself is a huge medical marvel.
Yeah.
But then when you think about all the other factors, the risks,
Yeah.
the ethical considerations, the impact on the healthcare workers,
Right.
it really is a complex issue.
It is, and I think it highlights how healthcare is about so much more than just technology. It's about people. It's about values, and it forces us to confront some really tough questions.
Yeah, we've talked about how ECMO can save lives, but it also exposes, kind of our limitations, our limited resources, our limited knowledge, and even our own human limitations when it comes to making these really tough decisions.
Absolutely. And I think those decisions, as we've discussed, go beyond just medical outcomes.
Right.
They touch on our values, our priorities as a society, and what we consider truly important.
Yeah, it's like ECMO shines a light on the bigger picture.
It does.
It forces us to ask, what are we willing to invest in? What are the ethical boundaries of life-saving technology?
Exactly. And if this deep dive has sparked anything in you, I hope it's that sense of curiosity, that desire to keep exploring these questions, because the future of ECMO and really the future of healthcare in general depends on our collective willingness to grapple with these ethical dilemmas.
So to you, our listener, as ECMO continues to evolve, as it pushes the boundaries of what's medically possible, remember to look beyond the technology itself. Ask the hard questions. Engage in those difficult conversations. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the machines, it's about us.
That's a really powerful message, and I think it's the most profound takeaway from this deep dive into the world of ECMO. It's a story of innovation, of human resilience, but also a reminder that progress comes with responsibility.
Well, we've certainly had a lot to ponder today.
We have.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the fascinating and complex world of ECMO.